Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Bay Area Invitational. My name is Zach. I'm joined with Ben, and we're in round 2 already. We got everything set up, and we're in Pokemon Champions and Regulation MA, right? I'm ready to have some fun.
MB.
Oh, yes, MB.
We're now in MB, folks.
MB. We don't need A. We've got some fun new Reg MB Mega Evolutions to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into team preview. We've got Andrew versus Rija. Andrew running that new Mega Raichu Y. This is the one that does not set electric terrain. And now we've got the Mega Swampert as a new rain piece as well, which is very, very fun to take a look at. Yeah, so, and as alongside Grimmsnarl, a new addition, as well as Mega Mawile. Yeah, we got a bunch of new fun stuff. So a bit of a rain team, 2 fire types on Andrew's side, and that Ceruledge and the Incineroar. So might be a little harder to bring those two into the rain matchup, but you gotta hit Venusaur somehow.
Yeah, and as many new things as we have, a lot of things do stay the same. You see Basculegion still available for Rija. Mega Venusaur also on Rija's side, choosing to run that double Mega. Archaladon, Pelipper. A lot of these mainstay pieces are still going to be around. And we can see that the game has begun. Andrew has led with Milotic and that Raichu. And Rija has led with the Basculegion and the Venusaur.
Yes, so Raichu obviously going to be looks like the Mega of choice for Andrew's side. Makes a lot of sense against this rain matchup where Mawile usually loves taking attacks resisted with that great Steel Fairy typing, but against a lot of water and ground and electric offense and ghost offense, the typing's not nearly as potent. So Raichu, of course, with those strong Zap Cannons, thanks to No Guard, will be able to do plenty of damage to all of the non-Swampert Pokemon on the field. But Swampert is not, looks like the Mega of choice from Rija's side, as it seems unlikely to have brought either of the two first partner Pokemon that can Mega Evolve without wanting to Mega Evolve them. This is a choice Scarf Basculegion, so it could very easily go for a simple flip turn, get on out of here, and set up the rain for this Venusaur. But there's no urgency to do that. Venusaur's not reliant on the rain. How it is, however, pretty reliant in this case on its Mega Evolution, which it will be going for right out the gate, as Raichu not going for a Fake Out, just going for a simple Protect and no Mega yet.
Yeah, Andrew is aware of the Choice Scarf on the Basculegion, deciding to protect the Raichu in the face of the very huge Wave Crash that comes out. Giga Drain from Venusaur doing a huge amount of damage to Milotic. On the other side, that is a critical hit that will explain the amount of damage on your Milotic. That's super not ideal if you're Andrew. That 75% of Milotic's HP gone. Leftovers will begin to mitigate that, but it's a lot of damage to take immediately. Getting the coil up is all well and good, but another Giga Drain is probably just going to be enough to pick up Milotic, and seeing as Venusaur is faster than Milotic is definitely not safe here.
Yeah, Milotic is not, Andrew is immediately probably not loving this position. I like the coil, though, because, you know, if the critical hit had not happened, we saw Giga Drain would do just about exactly 50%, which means Hypnosis, or not, Leftovers would heal that up, and then suddenly Milotic is not under threat of being 2-hit KO'd by that Giga Drain. However, as it stands, it currently is, thanks to that critical hit, and Raichu also very much threatened by a Wave Crash. It stymied it for one single turn, but the Sinister Switch is pretty great. Can take the Wave Crash a whole lot better than that Raichu would have been able to, thanks to Sinister's Grass typing and pretty high natural bulk. Shrugs that off well enough, as you can expect from a Basculegion Wave Crash, and the Giga Drain will not be able to KO this Milotic thanks to that Sinister's Hospitality, healing up Milotic just barely enough to go for a ditch Hypnosis, but only one coil means that Hypnosis is only 80% accurate, and so does in this case miss crucially into that Venusaur. So Venusaur stays on the field, ready to be a threat once again.
Yeah, Venusaur pretty uncontested in this position. Sinistra does not have anything that would threaten Venusaur. Machigacha is going to bounce off of Venusaur's generally pretty bulky stature, especially when Mega evolved. And Milotic is not really in that great of a spot either, and Sinistra does have Rage Powder, can keep Milotic safe from the Wave Crash that the Basculegion is locked into. Cannot save it from the Venusaur on the other side, which is just a mono-offensive set, has Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Earth Power, isn't packing anything like Sleep Powder or even a Synthesis, which would not make a ton of sense on a rain team.
Leech Seed.
Or Leech Seed or anything like that. Basculegion going to leave the field realizing, okay, if Wave Crash is going to be redirected anyway. I'm not going to bother doing that. Archaladon coming in here feels reasonably safe, right? Nothing super threatens it that much. Sludge Bomb coming out from Venusaur into the Milotic. Milotic protects here, so Sinistra does get to fire off a Machigacha, which would have been great into the Vasculegion, but does next to nothing to the Archaladon and the Mega Venusaur.
Yeah, I like this play from Arisia. Really capitalizes on the sort of bind that he's put Andrew in pretty instantly. Andrew goes for the play he can go for, right? Go for Protect with Milotic to not lose that piece, or sacrifice something else in the back. And Sinistra was threatening a fair amount of damage into that Vasculegion with that Machigacha, so Arisia very easily defensively capitalizes on that. Archaladon, thanks to after the leftovers, actually took no damage at all from the Machigacha. Didn't have to worry, did not get burned in this case. That would have been sort of cutting into that leftovers recovery every turn. But as it stands, Archaladon just came in for free and got a free stamina boost as a result, which is not going to be super useful against the Pokemon we've seen Andrew show in the game so far. However, he has to, the only 3 other Pokemon are physical, so that stamina boost will be helpful against those in the future.
It definitely will end up mattering, and I think it's also reasonable to point out that Raichu has not yet Mega Evolved, so does still have the Lightning Rod ability, just in case Pelipper is in the back for
Electro shots.
Rija, yeah, to redirect the Electro shots from the side of Andrew. So Raichu is actually going to pivot in here, double switch. Actually, Raichu and Incineroar are pivoting in for the Milotic and the Sinistra. Intimidate not going to do anything for Andrew here. Sludge Bomb, Raichu will take it, but that's still 60% off of Raichu, basically for free. Is this a double up? Yes, yeah. Dragon Pulse does go in and KO, or come in and KO the Raichu, so Raichu down, and Andrew's Mega Evolution potential gone for this game.
Yeah, and well, completely gone. We saw Incineroar switch in as well, so we know that there is no Mawile as well, and so that was the one and only Mega option. Now, normally that's not usually the end of the world. There's usually some other offensive pieces that can pick up the slack, but Milotic's so low, Incineroar and Sinistra being primarily support pieces, it's just really hard for Andrew to find the damage into this team. We see, you know, Venusaur has taken a little bit of damage.
6% to be exact.
Yeah, Vasculegion has taken, Brave Crash Recoil for about 10% in the back. We're probably not even going to get to see what Rija's final Pokemon is if he decides to keep that information hidden. Which,
nope, just kidding. Pelipper's here.
Which he's not. He's saying, you know what? He's like, I see a way to win the game pretty cleanly right now. Just switch in Pelipper and go for an Electro Shot to just hammer away at the slot because there's no Raichu anymore. Right? Lightning Rod has been removed, so good old Electro Shot going to be coming out from Archaladon and doing significant damage to the Incineroar or just completely wiping Milotic off the board. Milotic really did not have a great time in this game.
No, Milotic not exactly. This is not the kind of a game you want to bring Milotic into the way that it happened to play out. Andrew immediately going to forfeit, realizing there's no point in playing this out. Sinistra plus Incineroar in the rain are never going to deal with Archaladon already at +1. Both defense and special attack.
Yeah, no real way around that. So,
especially having found out already what the 4th Pokemon was, there wasn't necessarily any more information to be gained from continuing to play out that game.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew kind of was like, all right, I got what I could. Figured out Pelipper was in the back. Not that that was the craziest thing to have in the back. It makes a lot.
Could have been Grimmsnarl.
It could have been, but this team really does kind of rely on, well, not entirely, but likes having Pelipper around to set up the rain. Thanks to, of course, Electro Shot being an extremely potent option when inside the rain. And he was able to, Rija was able to kind of deal with the Raichu before that could, complicate his plans, because we saw that there are really only 2 real, primary ways for Rija to get rid of the Milotic, which is going to be that Venusaur and the Archaladon's Electro Shot, but as we talked about, Lightning Rod kind of complicates the Electro Shot angle, and so really the Venusaur is the primary way outside of the fail-safe of, well, if everything gets KO'd, Last Respects can KO everything. So, other than that part.
Not really an ideal game plan. Yeah, just to bank everything on Vasculegion and say, well, if I
sack my entire team.
If I'm on the edge of losing the game, maybe Vasculegion will turn it around for me and I'll just bank on that. Probably not what you want to aim for. The critical hit on the Giga Drain also super helpful.
Very, very helpful.
For Rija, definitely unfortunate for Andrew, but hey, that's the game. Critical hits happen, and you got to be able to play around that. I'm thinking about possibly the Mawile as an adjustment for Andrew. There is no Intimidate on the side of Rija, Milotic Mawile could potentially be pretty threatening.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. I'm curious to see if we see. Curious that there's actually no trick room on this Sinistra, as I probably might have expected for, Incineroar Sinistra, set up trick room, Mawile comes in, and let's see that if we can jump into the game. It says matchmaking in progress.
Hold on, we are trying to get into the game here, figuring out, realizing the ins and outs of spectator mode, which we are very glad it's here.
Matchmaking in progress.
However, give us just a moment to figure this out.
Yeah, sorry. Technical difficulties.
Master Legion's gone. Mawile's here. It's at 40%. Milotic is at +1 defense, attack, and accuracy. And our Chaladon is probably loving life in the position that it's in right now.
Yeah, our Chaladon is looking like it's in a pretty strong position. Electro Shot probably can get a KO on either Pokemon in the back, or either Pokemon on Andrew's side. There could be, of course, a Raichu lurking in the back. So usually you want to pick one of the Pokemon and Mega Evolve it, but Raichu actually provides a good amount of value in this matchup without having to Mega Evolve. So I really like the pivot to prioritize Mega Mawile more and Andrew in this game too. We'll be keeping itself safe, as well as Pelipper here, as Chaladon does go for indeed that Electro Shot. Regardless of the protect and the targeting, it will get the special attack boost. That's the fun part of Electro Shot. Doesn't matter where you target, you always get something out of this move. We'll be going into that Mawile, however, so we'll not connect. Ooh, and there's the Hypnosis connecting on to that Archaladon. That's pretty big. Buys Andrew a good amount of time to start dealing with it, and he's gonna need to use that time.
For sure. However, Pelipper's definitely still a threat here, right? Milotic Mawile just protected Archaladon, going to stay asleep. Sucker Punch from Mawile doing a huge amount of damage. Wow, we have not seen this thing in years, and it's putting in work.
That's insane damage.
But is not quite able to pick up the KO on Pelipper, so the return Weather Ball is able to pick up the KO, and now Andrew brought down to his last two Pokemon, and even though Archaladon is sleeping, and now Pelipper is sleeping too, somehow he's got to be able to get through the sleeping Archaladon on the other side, right? Yeah. And Sinistra, Milotic, these are not the two Pokemon I would pick to try to break through the steel dragon that is Archaladon.
Yeah, that might be a little rough. Muddy Water
in the range pretty good.
Drops can occur. I'm not sure how many coils are quite up on this Milotic at this moment. It did,
at least one.
It's been landing
to say
Hypnosis.
Nothing of the Venusaur that's also here.
Oh yeah, Venusaur is also here. Archaladon does get the 1-turn Wake 1 in 3 chance, so here's the Electro Shot coming out.
No Rage Powder.
No Rage Powder, so I don't know if Milotic's going to be enjoying this +2 Electro Shot. Certainly will not be a super effective Electro Shot. Kind of a delete button for anything weak to it, and Milotic is as sturdy as it is typically, especially with great special bulk. Archaladon does not care. Electro Shot is too good. So Sinistra once again on its own, doing no real damage to these 4 times Matcha Gotcha resists.
Hey, that's a big 14% out from our man Sinistra on the field.
Good job, Sinistra. Sorry, mostly ineffective attack.
Mostly ineffective. Sinistra did its best, but I think at that point it looked, I hesitate to say, a little too far gone at that point. But Archaladon uncontested in the rain.
Yeah.
Mawile put in a lot of work while it was there. It just wasn't there for quite long enough.
I mean,
it was a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, we haven't seen Sucker Punch. We haven't seen Mega Mawile in a fair bit. I did not anticipate Sucker Punch to do 93% to a bulky citrus berry Pelipper.
No, Pelipper's physical bulk is pretty good.
That's wild.
Not even stab sucker punch. No same type attack bonus.
It's just Mawile.
It's just Sucker Punch.
That's
In case
honestly
you forgot,
crazy.
Mega Mawile is pretty strong.
That's insane damage. Like Andrew kind of got destroyed, but that damage output was very, very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah, really crazy. I'm
sure you can turn that around.
Yeah, I think there's so
I mean,
many
not
ways.
this set, obviously. The set's over
Yeah.
with, but this is a different tournament structure than usual.
We're still doing Swiss for now.
We're still doing Swiss for now, but we will eventually go into a bracketed
double elimination bracket.
double elimination system
Tournament. Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah. That is it.
What are the words? It's just,
But until
we're
then,
trying something new.
Yeah, we're trying something. But until then, we're gonna take a very, very brief break, and we'll see if we can get an interview to chat with Rija about this cool team construction. I haven't seen things quite like this. And just thoughts on the regulation MB format, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, we'll be back in just a quick moment with an interview. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Hello, everybody. We're back. My name's Fuji. I'll be interviewing Rouget here today. We just saw a round with 2 games against Andrew Brasino. Going into the match, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so with the first glance of the matchup, I feel like my Venusaur is actually pretty strong with this matchup since it has Earth Power and also Under the Ring does not have the weakness to the Fire type. So I just decided like bring Venusaur at the very beginning, and also I'm kind of afraid of the, let's say, fake out, so I cannot do anything there. So for sure, like basically just paired up, I feel like this is the best start lineup I could have.
Yeah, and then that's perfect point. In game one, I know Andrew had led the Raichu,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
And at that point, was there any different thoughts about whether the Raichu would be a little worse or the Mawile?
Yeah, actually, in the first game, I didn't realize the Malval has a sword dance there. I
Uh
was
huh.
expecting like he's running kind of like Trick Room as well, like Raichu as a fast speed attacker and Malval like under Trick Room. So like when I see Raichu, because I'm not that worried about it because it's not very bulky, so I can either like wave crash it or just do maybe under the ring Aqua Jet as well. Maybe can kill it as well.
Yeah.
So Malval, I was because I know I put a lot of HP on my Pelipper, so and also it does not have the speed there. I'm not that worried about it. And another thing is like since I think Andrew's team is like a slow, like bulky, like bulk up coil team. I think it's I need to go fast pace. I don't
Yeah.
want like
Put a lot of offensive
yeah,
pressure.
that's why
Yeah.
I didn't bring any like reflect last screen. I didn't bring that
That makes
thing.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. Just go all in on that offense.
Yeah.
And with that, during game one, there's that moment where Andrew double swapped and brought
Mm-hmm.
the Raichu in. Did you anticipate that and hit the Raichu? Double
Yeah,
multi
yeah,
slot? Okay.
kind of. I just I don't know what's the last month here. Then I feel like if I let the Miltic, is that how to pronounce it?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Miltic? Yeah, yeah, like I will be in trouble. So
Yeah.
that's why I decided to double like that spot because I know Sludge Bomb should take down the Miltic and just
Yeah.
put like Dragon Pulse on same spot for extra safety because at that moment like Sinestro is not doing much damage on my two Pokemon, so yeah, just in case.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, and then one more question. How do you feel about Reg MB in general?
Yeah, I feel it's much better than regulation MA. Like when I saw regulation MA, I feel like I cannot play this format because
Yeah.
because some Pokemons are not are much better than
Yeah.
the others. So
A very large power gap.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like bring limited selection on the team building, but like MB, we have a lot of Pokemons back, items back. Malamar is back. Maybe I can have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So
Be a little creative
Yeah,
with all the
exactly.
different Pokemon and the
Exactly.
middle tier. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, is there any other words that you like to say before we
yeah.
swap back over?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the community here. Like this season, like I made myself into the world in white. Actually, the practice during the locals helped me a lot. Like I can figure out like, my weakness, like enhance my team building there. So really want to say thank you to everybody. It's NorCal VGC.
Yeah. Well, that was Rouge. Hopefully, good luck with the rest of your rounds, and we appreciate the kind words. We will go ahead, go back our quick break, and then get ready for the next round.
Okay, thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the San Francisco Invitational. We are jumping into round. This is not 2. This is actually round 3. I believe we're entering into team preview right now. We're going in very quickly. This is Chris versus Jordan. We have one team is more interesting than the other. No offense.
Everyone get excited!
No offense, Jordan.
Everyone get excited! We got some new stuff though. Jordan is not rocking anything new to
He's still
regulation.
playing Reg MA.
He's still playing Reg MA, which is fine because Reg MB
It's working
is,
out for him.
Reg MB is not that different.
Yeah.
Chris, however, does have some fun new picks in that Goldango as well as the Mega Staraptor alongside that Whimsicott, of course, that can go for fake tears, boost up that special defense thanks to Staraptor's fun contrary ability. So we'll see this some new stuff alongside the Goldango, how those can fare against the most standard kind of things we've come to expect from Regulation MA on Jordan's side.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Mega Staraptor has been one of the most hyped new Pokemon coming into Regulation MB, and we will see if it will perform well on the stage that we have here today. Jordan going to lead off with the Incineroar and the Floette, and Whimsicott and Goldango coming out from the side of Chris.
Yep, so Chris has the immediate threat of a potential Tailwind plus Make It Rain. However, without Covert Cloak and with Make It Rain lowering your special attack by 2 rather, not nearly as potent against the fake out lead from Jordan. So Jordan could very simply just go for a fake out, Calm Mind. Whimsicott does not have Encore on this set. It has Fake Tears instead, and so Jordan doesn't have to be nearly as worried about Encore locking him into a Floette Protect or a Floette Calm Mind or anything like that. And so Jordan can probably take this a little bit nice and easy here. Goldango is, of course, a great option to threaten down that Floette, but after a potential Calm Mind, Incineroar can do some pretty meaningful damage. Goldango is going to be forced off of the field here. Chris deciding to bring in his own Incineroar to better stomach those attacks, get an Intimidate on Jordan's Incineroar, as Jordan will go ahead and go for the Mega Evolution on Floette. Was led, pretty obvious. Charizard probably not here. Floette free to take the Mega Evolution power.
Yeah, probably not. Whimsicott immediately going to benefit from the Fairy Aura boost to its Moonblast, though, doing nearly 40% to the Mega Floette on the other side. That's pretty good damage, considering this Floette does not have any way to recover that HP. This one is not running that Draining Kiss, just has Moonblast instead. Flare Blitz coming out into the the Incineroar that switched in on the other side, and Dazzling Gleam plus Flare Blitz puts it Incineroar exactly at 50%, so it is able to eat that Citrus Berry, but Whimsicott very nearly brought down to its Focus Sash from turn 1.
Yep, Whimsicott does just go on the offense in the face of what could have just very easily been a fake-out Moonblast, and then Whimsicott's gone. But of course...
That said, Floette did as well. Just went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to click Dazzling Gleam. I don't think you're going to click Make It Rain here.
Yeah, I think Floette can probably take a potential Make It Rain. This Goldengo has a spell tag instead of a metal coat or other boosting items, so Shadow Balls are a bit stronger, but Make It Rain is not necessarily boosted here. The Floette damage is important, however, it is not necessarily permanent. Jordan does have the Matcha Cup of Sinistra in the back, so all damage is not necessarily permanent thanks to Hospitality. Whimsicott will be keeping itself safe. The both fairy types were deciding to... that was enough offense for now. Let's just keep each other safe as the Flare Blitz from Chris's, it seems like, faster Incineroar goes into the Floette to no avail. And Jordan, doing what Jordan does best, goes for a parting shot with that Incineroar, gets to cycle Incineroar out, bring something maybe a little bit more threatening on the field to maybe deal with this Incineroar a little bit more alongside that Mega Floette.
Yeah, Jordan, I think, getting the better end of this turn, is able to reposition that Incineroar off the field. Has also taken less damage overall, already forced the Incineroar on Chris's side to consume that Citrus Berry, so no more recovery for that Incineroar. Yeah, so Jordan now gets to decide what he brings in. It is final boss, the Basculegion, coming in turn 3. Not quite the final end of this game, but still in a very strong position nonetheless. With that Choice Scarf is probably, well, no, definitely going to be faster than the Incineroar on the side of Chris, even if Chris does decide to set Tailwind for the Incineroar.
Yeah, most likely, and Tailwind seems like the likely option. Usually you try to want to, if you are a Whimsicott player, you want to click Tailwind on like the turn right when Whimsicott's going to get KO'd, just so you get that maximum advantage with something a little bit more offensive that we know is in the back, that Goldengo is in the back, to take advantage of that Tailwind. As you saw, even with the Fairy Aura boosted Moonblasts, they're doing respectable damage, but nothing earth-shattering by any means. And so this Basculegion is in a great spot to just kind of get a KO on whatever it wants with a Last Respects, but Whimsicott will be going for the Tailwind on this turn. But as you correctly identified, the Scarf Basculegion will still be faster than that Incineroar, and so it goes down to that Wave Crash.
Yeah, Tailwind does go up, but Chris is probably going to have to trade both Whimsicott and Basculegion for it, unless... No, Floette does not decide to click Calm Mind here, instead goes on the offense, clicks Dazzling Gleam, does pick up the Whimsicott, bringing it to a 2v4 in Jordan's favor, but Chris does crucially have Tailwind for the next 3 turns.
Right, so if Chris is going to win this game, it's probably going to be in the next 3 turns, is to take maximal advantage of the Tailwind, and these are 2 great Pokemon to do so. Garchomp with the Life Orb just gets a massive damage boost from the ones that we typically see in Regulation MA, and so these Dragon Claws and Earthquakes are going to be hurting even harder here. Goldengo can also go for, of course, a Make It Rain or a Shadow Ball for super effective damage to either of what Jordan has on the field right now. However, the ball is absolutely in Chris's court to just do the damage he needs to, pump out as much damage as possible in these next 3 turns while he has the speed advantage, because Goldengo and Garchomp and Tailwind should definitely be faster than this even Choice Scarfed Basculegion. So Chris has the momentum, he just has to make sure he has to capitalize on it as much as possible, but Jordan has a lot of tools in his disposal, is going to make sure that that's going to be a little bit harder. Incineroar, perfect opportunity, resists a lot of Goldengo's attacks and can intimidate Garchomp, but Chris not going on the offensive, just going with a Protect from Garchomp.
Yeah, Incineroar, a pretty good tool to bring into this particular situation. Floette also opting to Protect here. Goldengo going to fire off a Shadow Ball into the slot that was the Basculegion. That would have been very good damage onto it, probably just a KO with that spell tag, but Incineroar soaks that up with aplomb, not an issue for it at all, and now Garchomp is at -1 and at threat of being faked out on this particular turn. But if you do that, Make It Rain could possibly come out from this Goldengo and maybe pick up the KO on the Floette. I haven't done this particular damage calc, but it's a lot of damage, and Floette's already nearly down to half.
Yeah, Floette is at 61%, so I would imagine a Make It Rain from this range. I would hope Goldengo can get there. This is a modest stat alignment, so it should be packing a decent amount of power under its belt. So we'll see if that Make It Rain can do so. But if you get that KO, that's going to be, you know, a KO on Float, which is great. Some decent chip damage onto the Incineroar, but then Basculegion can come back out and things can be awkward. But of course, Jordan also just doesn't have to let Chris get that KO. Has a lot of tools in the tool belt. So here's Sinister coming in, and Incineroar back up to full. Didn't even take much at all from that Shadow Ball. The Rock Tomb instead, maybe Chris expecting that Float to not get KO'd here. So here's the Rock Tomb. Good damage into that Incineroar, but after the Intimidate, feels bad to take Life Orb recoil from that one. And Goldango will be, in this case, going for that Make It Rain, but yeah, not the premier targets. Incineroar takes that well enough, and even Sinister took that pretty comfortably here. This Flare Blitz, not quite enough to pick up the Goldango here, so that's great for Chris. However, we're really seeing the detriment of the weaker Make It Rain in Pokemon Champions, where now Goldango is at -2. It's going to be really hard pressed to fit in a nasty plot to recover that lost special attack, and so yeah, both of Chris's Pokemon are really have less damage output than we need to, and so Chris realizes, yeah, there was one more turn of Tailwind. There's just no chance. The game is won, and Jordan takes game 1 over Chris in this best of 3 in round 3.
Yeah, even if Chris had gotten a double KO on that particular turn, there were still 2 Pokemon left in the back, one of them being a Choice Scarf Basculegion, and with no more Ghost Resists, last respects at the end of the game, as it is wont to do, very primed to just clean up everything in the event that Float is not able to clean up everything, and given how low Goldango was, given that it was at -2 special attack, it was
at 10%.
It was very low. It was very hard pressed to get
gone.
anything done, is what I was getting.
Yes, yeah, Goldango at that point, like that's really where like the Make It Rains are not nearly as impactful in the long term, right? One Make It Rain still just as good as it was back in Scarlet and Violet. However, having your special attack afterwards is just such a detrimental cost, where, you know, even if Chris, you know, hadn't taken that giant Flare Blitz, it still would have been, all right, well, what is this -2 special attack Goldango going to be doing? Probably doesn't even pick up the Basculegion. Basculegion's pretty bulky. So
While resisting Make It Rain.
well, I mean, even with the Shadow Ball. So
Even with the Shadow Ball, yes, at -2, probably not picking up that
Probably not.
Basculegion,
Yeah,
even with that spell tag.
even with
item.
the spell tag, yeah, probably not. Which spell tag is a fun option choice on the Goldango. You usually want a little bit of a damage boost to it in some way. I think spell tag is a neat option. Usually we see typically we've seen Metal Coat in the past to boost the damage of Make It Rain, but with Make It Rain being less reliable of an option for Goldango than it has been in the past, I think spell tag is a neat option, especially when Garchomp very much appreciates having that Life Orb. So much so that both Garchomps on both sides are running that Life Orb. So we said we've been kind of memeing Jordan as running a Regulation MA team, but he has made one crucial change. This Garchomp is holding a brand new item to this format.
Never before seen.
It's
hot off the shelves.
Hot off the press. It's Life Orb. It's everyone's favorite. It's back. But that is a crucial change to how this team can play. It makes Garchomp a lot more immediately aggressive and gives it a noticeable amount of damage output. It kind of changes how you want to play the Charizard mirror when a lot of Charizard in Regulation MA were sort of bulky enough to survive a Garchomp Rock Slide. That was doable,
Especially at -1.
especially at -1. But Rock Slide with the Life Orb from Garchomp suddenly is a lot harder to take, and so this kind of changes how you want to be playing that mirror and how, if and when Jordan goes against that, how he wants to approach it. However, no Charizard mirror here. No Charizard even seen at all so far. We'll see if that changes, but Float on the lead does not give me hope that a Charizard is in the back.
Probably not seeing a Charizard this game. Oh no, what a nightmare. It's been so long since I've gotten to see Charizard on a VGC stream. We have double Incineroar on the lead again, and an adjustment for Chris this time. Actually, I believe, right?
Yeah,
he did
leading
not
with-
lead Goldango last time.
No, he had Goldango and Whimsicott, but he's got Incineroar on the field immediately, knowing, hey, I've got the faster Fake Out. We saw that in game 1, so recognizing, okay, I can go for a Fake Out and then get a potential nasty plot off, and that is going to be a little bit faster paced than Calm Mind from the Float, and so that's something that Chris could be angling for. Also, just nice to get the Incineroar out a little bit early. Whimsicott felt like it might have been more useful later on in the game, but in the early game just didn't quite contribute as much. Especially because We haven't seen it, but Staraptor is on Chris's team, which is something we need to talk about. Probably convincing Jordan, if he wasn't already, to go with that Floette mode more than the Charizard, simply because Staraptor can otherwise just kind of run away with the game after some fake tears and close combat boosts that way. So Fairy Aura coming onto the field thanks to the Mega Floette, and Chris will be going for the Fake Out into Jordan's Incineroar. Floette goes for just a simple Moonblast into Goldengo, but that Steel typing pretty massive, takes that reasonably well for as much as you can for a Floette Moonblast.
Yeah, Floette Moonblast still doing a whole lot of damage, but Goldengo whipping out the nasty plot on this turn, saying, I know I'm not threatened thanks to the Fake Out support from Incineroar. I know I can survive a Moonblast from Mega Floette thanks to being a Steel type, and now Goldengo is threatening massive damage, and if Make It Rain was not enough to put a big dent in Mega Floette before, it'll certainly be enough to KO it at +2.
Yeah, Floette is now under existential threat. However, this is the interesting turn where does Chris just sort of just click Make It Rain and potentially risk getting KO'd to a Flare Blitz and a Floette Protect? That would be pretty bad. Or does Chris try to go for a Parting Shot to maybe lower that damage output, maybe survive that Flare Blitz, but then a double up could still get there. So still awkward positioning. Both offensive pieces for both players deciding to protect to stall this out a little bit, and Chris can take advantage of the faster Parting Shot to get this Incineroar down to -2 attack. Maybe stomach those Flare Blitzes even better. However, I have a sneaking suspicion that we'll see another Parting Shot in just a moment into this freshly swapped in Garchomp, but no, it's the Flare Blitz instead into that Goldengo Protect. So I think Chris getting the perfect end of that turn here now is threatening a potential double knockout here. However, Floette still could be faster than Garchomp. We haven't quite seen which one is moving first.
Yeah, definitely could be faster. Chris's Garchomp does have that Jolly stat alignment, so definitely leaning a bit more into its speed, so it is possible that it is faster than Floette, and if I'm Jordan, I don't know if that's a gamble that I really want to take, and yeah, Floette is going to leave the field. Here, Vasculegion coming out will definitely handle a Make It Rain better than
but the
Mega
Rock
Floette, but
Tomb.
Rock Tomb, wow.
Rock
Rock Tomb
Tomb,
actually
ooh.
going to miss, but
Rock-
Shadow Ball going into the Floette slot, that's a huge amount of damage. Spell Tag,
That's a
maybe,
great call. I love that.
Spell
Saying
Tag maybe not making a big difference.
doesn't
there, but-
matter, but yeah, like Floette. Chris recognizing there's no reason there's no way you're gonna let me just KO Floette with a Make It Rain here. So just goes for a safe Shadow Ball. Right, doesn't lower his special attack. Would have loved to get the Rock Tomb damage into that Incineroar to sort of put it into range of a maybe +2 Spell Tag Shadow Ball in the future, or like Protect an Earthquake later on. So that missed damage is a little unfortunate, but I think that turn certainly goes well enough for Chris. If I'm Chris, where just getting rid of that Basculegion threat in the late game is really, really nice. That gives a whole lot of breathing room for Chris's Incineroar, which is undamaged so far. But Goldengo has taken a beating so far. It is pretty low, however, not low. Still, now it's faster than everything because it'll do quite a lot of damage.
Yeah, very much so. And even if Mega Floette had stayed in, you're getting +2 Spell Tag boosted Shadow Ball off
still
into
pretty
it.
good.
That's still very good damage. And Goldengo was in a reasonable spot to do that, right? We saw how little Flare Blitz did at -2 to that Goldengo, the good enough bulk to survive that. Garchomp actually going to pivot out here into the Incineroar, which makes a lot of sense, right? Garchomp doesn't really need to be on the field right now. You get another Intimidate on the Incineroar on the other side, and now Incineroar is in to threaten the Sinistcha. Sinistcha just going to protect here, and a Parting Shot from Jordan's Incineroar into the freshly swapped in Incineroar from Chris means that, yes, Jordan does get to pivot something in here reasonably safely. Something is the Floette, that's all that's in the back. But Chris now has Fake Out pressure available to him, so Goldengo's pretty free to act still.
Yes, so now it's a matter of like, okay, I think Jordan kind of had to disarm this Goldengo a little bit, get something in that could threaten it a little bit more. I think Chris maybe could have gotten a little bit more value out of the turn, maybe just go for a Shadow Ball, say, all right, I'm going to do a lot of damage in the meantime. The fact that the Sinistcha does have Protect makes that a little bit more complicated, where, if it didn't have Protect, you just free Shadow onto that slot that's a KO or a lot of damage into something. But with that defensive option under Jordan's up Jordan's sleeve, it makes it a little harder. And these Incineroar have been super, super important. Here's another Fake Out potential for Jordan in the following turn. Chris will not go for Fake Out with this Incineroar on this turn. So here's just the simple Make It Rain. Gonna expend that nasty plot to do about 40% to Incineroar on Jordan's side. Pretty helpful. I don't know if it's quite... Has it eaten the citrus berry yet? We might find out, but the parting shot will be failing into this Floette. So now Goldango is kind of compromised, right? It's in Moonblast range. It's lost its special attack thanks to that Make It Rain. It got some decent value chipping the Incineroar, but this Goldango is like the main piece that Chris needs to get rid of Floette, and Floette is still at 100%.
Yeah, still at 100%, still faster than the Goldango on the other side. We saw how much Moonblast did to it before, so Moonblast definitely going to be enough to pick up this Goldango if it is able to connect. That said, Goldango could protect on this turn, allow Chris to incent to Parting Shot off of the Floette, and then maybe you can survive another Moonblast, but things are getting kind of dicey from there. Maybe you just want to switch Goldango out, recover... Well, not recover anything, actually, because it's a neutral special attack right now.
It's neutral now.
After the Nasty Plot.
I could see,
It is going to switch, but does Garchomp really want to come in here? I'd say no, so we are going to see the fourth Pokemon, and it is that Staraptor.
It is Staraptor, so Whimsicott is not in the back. I was thinking a Protect plus Parting Shot into the Whimsicott, then you get Tailwind Make It Rain to potentially threaten that Floette, but we're seeing a different tact from Chris here. Staraptor showing up. Not a fighting type yet, so not weak to Moonblast. It loves that part, but that's still a massive amount of damage. This was a pretty costly Parting Shot into a Sinistcha. Would have loved to have got that Parting Shot into the more damaging Pokemon, that Floette, of course.
The one that's actually a threat right now.
However, worth noting, Staraptor does, get some decent amount of bulk when it Mega Evolves, and it does have Roost, so this damage is not necessarily permanent onto it. However, in order for Staraptor to do all the fun things it wants to, it does need to become a fighting type and become super weak to Moonblast, and so now we're looking at a really awkward position where Floette is kind of just checkmating everything with Dazzling Gleam at this point. Garchomp goes down to Dazzling Gleam, Incineroar can switch in and just gets two-shot by Dazzling Gleam. Goldango's been compromised enough defensively where Dazzling Gleam is just looking like an absolute massive threat for Chris to deal with. So I'm curious to see how exactly he plans on mitigating this threat here.
Right, and Staraptor is that careful stat alignment, so not actually a speed boosting stat alignment, so might also be slower than the Floette, even if it does Mega Evolve. So is still under threat of that Dazzling Gleam as well. Rock Tomb from the Garchomp coming out, but because Sinistcha clicked that Rage Powder button, is just going to go into the Sinistcha, and Garchomp takes 10% of its damage for clicking Rock Tomb into Sinistcha. Not exactly ideal. Dazzling Gleam going to come out here, probably enough to pick up this Garchomp straight away.
Garchomp is gone. Garchomp is super toast.
Yeah, now what do you do if you're Chris?
You have Fake Out. I don't know what you do. Like, Staraptor is also, like, has a harder time against this Sinistcha because you'd love to click Close Combat, get some bulk going, get some special defense boosts going, but you can't do that when when Rage Powder can redirect that attack here. And so, yeah, Jordan put in a really awkward spot. And I think, like, Life Orb Garchomp is awesome, but when you're using Life Orb Rock Tomb into a Sinistcha for 25%, you lose 10% of your health for that. That trade in health just doesn't look great. Like,
no, it does not pan out at all.
It doesn't look good. You want to be getting those Life Orb Earthquakes to do like 80% to an Incineroar. That's what you're looking for. But when you can't get exactly that sort of interaction, the Life Orb on Garchomp kind of feels like I'm just kind of ruining my bulk for what? A little bit more damage into something that doesn't really matter. Incineroar switching in to intimidate both of these physical attackers. Chris smartly not going for the Mega Evolution quite yet, gets to go for the fake. It's kind of the best turn he can. He gets a Roost onto Staraptor, gets some more health, gets to fake out that Floette. But yeah, this is careful, tons of bulk on Staraptor, and it still didn't even take that Moonblast very well. Like, this Pokemon is not the bulkiest thing. Really needs those close combat contrary stat boosts to really become the big raid boss, but Floette just makes that so hard.
Yeah, even with +1, +2, or heck, even +3 special defense, you're still dealing with fairy moves from Fairy Aura boosted Mega Floette, and that's still going to threaten Staraptor a huge amount.
It's at 90. It just took
it's still
a
at
fake
91%.
out. It's so healthy.
It's taken barely any damage over the course of this game. Floette is being much more of a raid boss in this set than Staraptor is, that's for sure. Staraptor has to protect itself because it's not even sure if it's faster than the Floette on the other side.
Almost certainly not, I would imagine. But the fake out goes into Chris's Incineroar, and yeah, this is This is a free calm mind.
Just going from bad to worse for Chris.
Yeah, this is looking absolutely disastrous. If Dazzling Gleam wasn't a threat to completely sweep this game, that calm mind is definitely going to make that even harder for Chris to stomach these blows. Goldango could have taken a low roll Dazzling Gleam before because it's about 24%. Not
now.
Not anymore. No, that calm mind wipes that possibility clean off the table. And now everything is just under massive threat from these Dazzling Gleams. Incineroar doesn't need to hang around anymore. It can just switch out, just switch in, just cycle these two, the teacup and the cat, in and out, while Floette can just pump the damage out. Staraptor saying, all right, it's kind of now or never, and it's...
I'd rather it be now than never.
I mean, either one, it doesn't really matter. I like the shiny with the blue mohawk. Looks really cool. I haven't actually seen it in
I like the
gameplay.
blue. It is unfortunately not going to be faster than the Floette on the other side, as we expected. And so Dazzling Gleam is going to pick up the Mega Staraptor, activate the Citrus Berry on Incineroar on Chris's side, bringing it back up to 50%. That is something. Flare Blitz does a good chunk of damage. That's 40%. That's to Floette on the other side.
You need another 60 to really turn the tides here. But
Yeah, it is unfortunate that the same problem persists into this following turn. That issue being that Floette is faster than everything, and Dazzling Gleam will wipe the board.
Yeah, I was like, we can just see Rage Powder Dazzling Gleam, but we don't even need to see that. Jordan, Chris knows. All right, this is absolutely doomed. I think the damage that he had done previously, getting the chip damage onto Goldango was the big thing. Realizing, okay, there's only actually one Fairy Resist on this whole team, and it's Goldango, and you're gonna need to bring that early because I'm gonna bring Floette early. And I'm just going to chip it down. Get a Moonblast here, get an Intimidated Flare Blitz here, chip it down into a range where suddenly it's slower than Floette. You got to take an attack before you can click Make It Rain. I'm going to punish you for that. And got into a position where Floette could just click the Dazzling Gleam button, click the safe Fairy Move button, and Chris just kind of got bowled over by that. But I really like how Jordan sort of set the board to do that, right? It wasn't just lead Floette, instantly win game. It was lead Floette, threaten things, position, get key chip damage here so that Floette in the end game still had, it got up to full health and took another Flare Blitz. It was always in the green.
It took a fake out and got down to 91%. Like, oh no.
Yeah, and then Jordan kept it very safe the whole time, and I think recognizing, all right, this Pokemon is incredibly powerful in this matchup. It has one thorn in that side, which is that Goldango, but I've got a lot of other tools to deal with that, right? Didn't even need Basculegion. Basculegion showed up and got instantly KO'd. Didn't matter. The Floette Sinistra Incineroar was just so potent.
Yeah, and because Chris didn't bring Whimsicott, did not have the ability to make Goldango faster than the Floette on the other side, we saw that was a huge deal, right? And was not able to actually get around Floette because Floette was constantly exerting a huge amount of offensive pressure, even to the thing that is supposed to resist and counter it.
Yeah, of course. So I think we're gonna do a little interview with Jordan to talk about this fun and inventive team, of course. So we'll be back in just a quick moment for that fun interview with these two players. So we'll see Fuji in just a moment.
All right, we are back with another interview. So we just saw Chris Room versus Jordan, and now I'm here with Jordan. Again, for those who are joining us right now, my name's Fuji, and I'll be interviewing Jordan a little bit about how that round went. And I think the first question I'd like to open with is, Well, I mean, it's a very unique six. How did you settle on these six Pokemon?
So when Reg B came out, like what, a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite mons is Metagross, and I thought it was gonna be strong, and it probably is. And I was trying out Metagross
Yeah.
right when the Reg came out, and it had Charizard next to it. But when I tried out that team, I was just never bringing Metagross, and Charizard. The Charizard Y part of the team was always the core that was brought. So I ended up swatching Charizard actually for Floette. So now it was Metagross and Floette and like some four other mons. I don't exactly remember.
Yeah.
And then Floette was still pretty strong, and I was not bringing Metagross and constantly bringing Floette. So I was like, okay, you know what? There's some matchups that are not good, and
Right.
Metagross is not working. Let me just. And I had some issues with a couple other teams that Charizard would help with. So I decided,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm going to switch out Metagross for Charizard. And then we ended up with
Yeah.
Charizard, Floette, Incin, and Sinistra. I've seen some successful teams with those two and Delphox and Floette, but like it's just my type of team, you know. And then I was just always using Basket Legion on my team since Reg MA, so it we just ended up with those six. It's pretty. It's my type of style, and it's pretty strong. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I know these six Pokemon seem to be really clicking with a lot of people. They're just very strong. You just mentioned that Delphox is another potential fire type that people have been testing with. Is there a reason why you like the Charizard over the Delphox?
One reason, I think the main one that stands out is with Delphox, and so let's say I had Delphox on my team instead of Charizard. My team felt pretty weak in theory to King Gambit. Everything's like within Sucker Punch range. Floette is also weak to King Gambit if I'm not playing it correctly. Charizard is not weak to Sucker Punch, and it's also a fire type like Delphox. So King Gambit was like one of the primary reasons for why I decided to stick with Charizard in the end, so that I don't have to play like any Sucker Punch mind games with Delphox and things
Yeah.
like that. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if that's the case, then getting into this matchup specifically, we saw a lot of the Goldango, and then we saw a little bit of swapping around between game one and two, where Staraptor came in game two. Was there anything that you were particularly worried about, or that you kept in mind as you were picking your four Pokemon?
yeah, I think so. Obviously, Floette is not good into Goldango, but at the same time, when I was looking at Chris's team, for some reason Charizard just did not feel good. Maybe because of Incineroar being so bulky, and he also had Rotom,
Right.
which I don't know if he brought in game one. He didn't reveal his fourth mon, if I remember correctly, but like there were some threats to the Charizard Y that just made it feel like, okay, if I bring in Floette and then I just position everything properly and then potentially sweep with Basket Legion in the end, I think things will be okay. But the Goldango lead obviously makes it hard in front of Floette. Me and Chris have played definitely a few times, so there was like some protect nasty plot mind games going on there. But at the same time, I felt if on turn one, when I was not protecting Floette in front of his Goldango, I know Floette has a lot of special defense. I don't know the calc for Floette in terms of like whether or not it lives Make It Rain, but I just know its special defense is pretty high. So I just decided maybe I could live a Make It Rain with, I don't know, 10, 20 HP left or something and still be able to get some damage off in front of Goldango if he doesn't nasty plot or protect.
Yeah.
So Floette it wasn't necessarily that great either in my opinion, but like I had like the fake out in the Sinistra.
Just swapping back in.
Yeah, trying to heal Floette and trying to get like fake out pressure out there to position Floette so that it could actually succeed in front of his team. When his Goldango went down to like 26%, I was like, okay, the only thing that can stop me now is like he didn't bring Whimsicott, but he did bring Garchomp. And it had Rock Tomb, and I believe it was faster than my Floette. So the only way I could lose to Goldango now is if I let Garchomp Rock Tomb my Floette. So there was I was trying to make sure I got Sinistra in at the proper time so that like I could Rage Powder Rock Tomb away. I believe he did go for Rock Tomb at some point, and I was able to stay faster than the Goldango, which was like the primary thing in the last game. So, and then I was able to take it out towards the end. So.
Yeah, it definitely like just watching that match. It was so exciting, especially because it came down to a lot of calls, right? It was
Yeah.
just like, okay, what is he gonna do this turn that I need to respond to? How am I gonna play around this?
Yeah.
And so it definitely was something where I was on the edge of my seat. I was really excited for like, okay, who's gonna make the right call here? What 50-50s or other moves are there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a great game. Like Chris is always a tough player. It's always fun playing with him. So, and I'm sure that's not going to be the last time we meet. Maybe even today we might have a rematch. I don't know. But in the future, like I'm looking forward to more matches.
Yeah, yep, definitely. And I hope you have some good luck for the rest of the rounds, and we see you again in the later rounds. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or any final words that you'd like to say?
No, this tournament's been really fun. Thanks for helping out with it. I'll tell Aaron in person as well. But like wanted to thank Aaron as well as like really everyone managing the stream and just making NorCal a really fun and large community. And it's been fun to see it grow, and it's been fun to play with everyone. So
Perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you as well for the great round, as well as everything that you contributed, and we'll look forward to the upcoming rounds. For everybody else, stay tuned. We'll have round 4 coming up relatively soon, and we will be back in just a bit. Hang in there.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to round 4 of Swiss of our NorCal Bay Area Invitational. There's Aaron's hand, tournament organizer for this lovely event.
That's how you know it's official.
That's how you know
it's not actually official,
it's,
but
it's officially grassroots.
officially grassroots.
I'm Zach. I'm joined by Ben, and we've got some great players to take a look at. Two really interesting teams. So let's just dive straight in. We've got Bezod versus Sean, Sun versus Rain, Raichu versus Charizard, Grimmsnarl is here. We got some ghosts. We got a good time ahead of us. What do you think about these two teams? We got two different Venusaur.
Two different Venusaur. One is Mega. One it has the Focus Sash. I think everyone's eyes are probably drawn to the Mega Raichu X if you're like me and have not seen it very much. And
Which I've not.
yeah, I've not seen it very much. This is a
I didn't know it was in the game. I thought only Raichu Y got added.
no, somehow Sean found a way to add the Raichu Knight X to his game, so does have access to that. Is running Fake Out, Volt Tackle, Volt Switch, and Encore, so there's actually no Protect on this Raichu, and it's not even entirely physical in that it does get Volt Switch to allow itself to pivot some, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah,
But we also need to talk about the Grimmsnarl on Bezod's side.
Well, wait. Before we do that, I think this is one of the matchups where you're probably really happy you have Electric Terrain with Raichu X, that does set that up upon Mega Evolution, because Bezod has a Venusaur with Sleep Powder, and so everything other than the Pelipper is grounded, and so you can neutralize that otherwise pretty annoying threat, and we're going to see Sean leading with that Raichu instantaneously for the faster Fake Out against Bezod's Goldango and Incineroar lead. We'll get to Grimmsnarl when it comes to the field.
Right, and so Sean does have the faster Fake Out here, can Fake Out the Incineroar, but with Goldango being led, means that if Sean wants to click Fake Out, can only Fake Out one target. Goldango going to ignore that, and this is a Life Orb Goldango with that nasty plot. So it will take a free turn and run with it. So if you are Sean, you have to be very careful not to just allow this Goldango to run free. And Raichu being led against Incineroar does mean that Raichu is now brought down to -1, which does matter because this is the physical Raichu, as was mentioned.
I mean, it does also have Volt Switches, which in Electric Terrain will still do a nice chunk, be able to chunk some stuff pretty nicely. The obvious play that sort of Sean wants to go for is that Volt Switch into Pelipper to get immediate Electro shots in Electric Terrain. However, Incineroar's Fake Out pressure is going to stymie that a little bit, and so it goes for the manual switch instead. That Fake Out into the Pelipper doesn't do a whole lot. Make It Rain goes next into the Archaludon, and Pelipper does a decent chunk of damage, but now Goldango is now at -2 and taken Life Orb chip damage, so really putting itself behind the 8 ball here, as our Archaludon is free to go for an Electro Shot into either of these Pokemon for pretty massive damage and that all-important special attack boost. And Charizard doesn't have Drought until it switches in and Mega Evolve, so another Electro Shot could be on the horizon, and that could be very disastrous for this Goldango.
I'm a little surprised to see the raw Make It Rain come out on turn 1. Both of Sean's Pokemon resisted Steel on the other side, and Pelipper switching in did not change that. And sure, Make It Rain did a solid amount of damage, and maybe Bezod thought, okay, I don't think I'm going to have time to click Nasty Plot here. Raichu's very threatening. Electro Shot in terrain with Pelipper in the back, possibly very threatening. I'm not going to risk trying to get a turn of setup with Goldango. I'm just going to rip a Make It Rain, try to get damage out, and get the value out of Goldango that I can before it goes down, and maybe that'll pay off for him.
Yeah, and get damage on that Raichu specifically, probably looking for that, because Raichu does resist Steel as an electric type. However, Raichu is not the bulkiest of Pokemon, so that chip damage would be meaningful, especially when it's, Volt tackling and taking a lot of recoil as well. So I like that. Just sort of, let's just get some value out of Goldango where I can. It's probably not going to be the best in this particular matchup, but Choice Scarf Garchomp hitting the field and potentially giving Goldango room to maybe go for a nasty plot on this turn. So Archaludon was not going for the Electro Shot, potentially fearing Garchomp switching in on that slot. Instead goes for the Dragon Pulse, but it's not quite enough. The Pelipper will be covering its bases, goes for the Weather Ball, doing a massive amount into that Garchomp, as Goldango did kind of get away with going for an Electro Shot, or going for a Nasty Plot to bring it back up to neutral special attack, and it has, crucially, 11% left, so it can go for an attack take Lei for recoil and not get KO'd as a result.
Yeah, definitely important. That said, Nasty Plot not as impactful as it was in Scarlet and Violet in tandem with Make It Rain in this particular generation. Now, Goldango is only back to neutral special attack, right? You would have achieved the same thing by switching it out and back in again, but perhaps Bezod didn't want to risk anything in the back getting tagged by a stray Electroshot, or in this case, Dragon Pulse.
Yeah, I like the Dragon Pulse trying to sort of fish, saying, oh, well, Electroshot into Goldango is so obvious. You're probably going to switch in Garchomp. I'll catch that with the Dragon Pulse. Bezod doesn't fall for that bait, and now Archaludon is a little bit of in a stickier position. Still has a stamina boost from that Electroshot, or from that Make It Rain earlier. So the Stomping Tantrum wouldn't have been an existential threat, but does protect from it nonetheless, as well as the double up from that Shadow Ball. So Sean getting that turn perfectly right, gets a free Tailwind, and is now in a very strong position to potentially just pick up 2 knockouts.
Yeah, worth noting, this is a Choice Scarf Garchomp, so does not have the option to protect on this turn. No such luxury available to it. Will be threatened by either a Weather Ball or a Dragon Pulse from the Pelipper or Archaludon, respectively. We saw how much Weather Ball did to the Garchomp previously, over half, so probably, very, very likely, just going to pick up a KO here. Weather Ball, a very strong move, and
Well, to see if Pelipper is actually faster than Garchomp in Tailwind,
is true.
Sean might not be looking to find that out. Might say, well, if I know my Archaludon is, so Archaludon could go first. Archaludon could also be actually slower than this Choice Scarf Garchomp in Tailwind. We'll have to actually find out if this Tailwind meaningfully changes that speed interaction between Garchomp and either of Sean's Pokemon currently on the field. Bezod doesn't want to find out, though, thinking maybe if it's too risky, instead sending in Incineroar instead as a way to sort of quell this and diffuse this just a little bit, as the Dragon Pulse is next to fire off into Incineroar for quite a lot of damage.
yeah, +1 Dragon Pulse with that same type attack bonus into that Incineroar, doing a good amount of damage, but Incineroar does survive, manage to switch in and give Bezod that fake out pressure for the following turn. Weather Ball, though, is going to pick up the Goldango on the other side. Having 11% health is great if all you need to do is click a single attack with Life Orb Recoil, but not going to be enough to survive Weather Ball in the weather, so it does go down. But crucially, Charizard does get to switch in for free here, and that means that it is able to Mega Evolve and get the Sun up on this turn safely if Bezod wants.
Right. I think now we're sort of seeing the reason why Bezod was pretty reticent to switch out that Goldango, thinking, okay, I kind of just need to get the damage I can with it, get that free entry into Charizard, so now he has a safe position to overwrite the Rain and set, and you know, not the opposite of rain on Sean's parade here, sun on his parade. So
Shine on his parade so brilliantly that he
it's
cannot
it's too
see.
bright outside.
The asphalt becomes too bright. I don't know, there isn't a metaphor that works here. But anyway, the sun would definitely stymie Sean's plans here. Prevents Electroshot from functioning in one turn. Changes Weather Ball to fire, which would be negligible damage to Incineroar or Charizard on the other side. So Pelipper acknowledging, I need to be able to reset the weather later on. Switches out. Raichu has to come in here, though. And as we've said, Raichu not the bulkiest Pokemon, so might be in trouble here. Charizard is going to Mega Evolve, set the sun here, and what does Archaludon do to respond on this turn?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Sean's final Pokemon is, if it's not something that could potentially take a Charizard attack better than Raichu. Dragon Pulse still looks like a 2-hit KO onto this Charizard. I don't think we're going to get to see Mega Raichu X in this game, as Weather Ball is, yep, that's pretty strong. Raichu gets KO'd before it gets the chance to activate that Mega Evolution. Incineroar will be parting shotting that Archaludon to make sure that the Charizard actually doesn't get KO'd to another Dragon Pulse unless it gets a critical hit. However, maybe Raichu is kind of the perfect Pokemon to switch in here because it just gets KO'd immediately. So now Pelipper gets to come back in right away and rain on Charizard's parade now. Properly. And so now that, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're going to see. There's still one more turn of Tailwind as well. So this Garchomp, Bezod probably switched it out last time to not have to worry about, well, is Archaludon faster in Tailwind? Because he's going to have to find out sooner rather than later. And by that, I mean right now.
Well, he either has to find out now or risk never getting sun up in this game.
Yes.
And if I'm Bezod, I probably would rather have the sun back up. So I may need to find that out.
Right, yeah. At this point, the last turn Tailwind's pretty big, where Bezod has lost one piece, so he can only switch one Pokemon out. Does decide, kind of has to be Charizard, has to kind of gamble about, all right, is this Archaludon actually faster than my Choice Scarf Garchomp in this Tailwind? However, in the meantime, Sean can just kind of go for a lot of damage, goes for the Electro Shot in this case. So Garchomp may be a little bit safer and on this turn, but that means this Electro Shot almost certainly going into the other slot. Well, once the Charizard now is the Incineroar. Thanks to that parting shot, does survive the attack. Garchomp next to move, so that speed interaction has been seen to both players. Stomping Tantrum does need to damage into Archaludon, but those stamina boosts mean that really not all that much in the grand scheme of things, and the Pelipper Weather Ball will finish off the Garchomp here. So another KO means another Pokemon switching back onto the field to reclaim their preferred weather condition, as Tailwind will be subsiding, and the Sun for at least one turn for Bezod for this Charizard. However, Sean still has one more Pokemon in the back, so could potentially switch that Pelipper out and get it back in to win the Weather War once and for all in this game 1.
Yeah, Pelipper free to leave the field and return to the field and bring back the rain once again. And though Archaludon is slower, we can assume, than the Charizard on the other side, Archaludon has frankly already done so much work that it may not even need to do anything on this particular turn, right? This is assuming you don't just protect Archaludon on the possible fake out from the Incineroar. And yeah, we see Pelipper leaving the field because why
pretty
not?
straightforward, no reason not to. There's the Venusaur, which does also have Chlorophyll as well, so it can take advantage of the sun if Sean so chooses. Interesting that he brought Venusaur in as the back Pokemon, seeing as he led with Raichu, so they're potentially expecting to get value out of either of them in a non-mega form. Also, the perfect switch-in takes this Heat Wave. Well, not really, it just gets KO'd immediately, but
Did take it.
it stomached the
took
attack. It sure took it.
Be the only thing it does, but it did take it.
Took the fake out as well. So sort of Bezod saying, all right, well, I can't
Two-hit KO.
I don't think I can really win if you just switch Pelipper out, so I have to play as if you don't. Or Sean, smart enough player to realize there's no reason for me to not switch it out. Decides to sack both of his Mega Evolutions on switch-ins just for Pelipper to get the rain up. Is the kind of correct move to go for both times, gets maximum value out of it, and Archaludon is just continues to be the massive raid boss, and Bezod realizing, all right, yeah, there's not too much I can do. Another 2 more Electro Shots cleans up this game pretty comfortably. Charizard in the rain, not a very good Pokemon, and so we are going into a game 2. Sean taking the first game win.
Yeah, pretty well played by both players, I think, but Sean definitely getting the better end of that deal, despite us never seeing Mega Raichu or Mega Venusaur.
Yeah, he literally switched in both of them to just immediately be KO'd to a Charizard attack and then just get Pelipper back in, which is...
And it worked.
Yeah, usually people are like, oh, but the Mega's so important.
You gotta be careful with your Mega, especially if you bring both of them.
No, it isn't. It is a Pokemon. Like any other, and in this case, Sean realizing, I think Archaludon is just a little bit stronger in this matchup, provided I can keep that rain up, which by sacrificing 2 Mega Evolutions to do it, he was able to keep the Sun at bay pretty effectively. So yeah, I really liked how Sean played that. I do also kind of like the team construction where usually, you know, it's hard to remove Charizard with these teams sometimes, but now there's a lot of hate for it, so you don't need to necessarily get the Electro Shot off in particular, or win the Weather War and have Pelipper go for a Weather Ball. You can also just have Raichu click Volt Tackle and it's gone, right? There's no...
Yeah, hard pressed to survive that.
Right, there's a weather-independent solution to Charizard, which I do like as a sort of a backup plan where, you know, Sean can play the Weather War, but he doesn't need... He's not forced to, which is... I appreciate that team-building decision on his side.
To say nothing of the Basculegion that's also on the team that we've barely talked about because it wasn't in the
didn't
first
show up,
game,
yeah.
but it could have been pretty important, right? It could have been in the back. It's Choice Scarf, Adaptability, Basculegion, and even in the Sun, Wave Crash is going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Maybe we'll see it this time.
Yeah, we might see Sean leading this game 1-0 against Bezod, so Bezod has to win this one to force a game 3, and Sean doesn't see any reason to adjust this lead, so it goes once again for that Archaludon and Raichu lead, as Bezod also saying, well, the problem was not the lead, the problem was things that happened afterwards, so leads with Incineroar and Goldengo once again.
Yep, we're in the same position as we were at the beginning of game 1. Sean has the faster fake out here, but can also choose to not fake out and just Mega Evolve and Volt Switch, get that electric terrain up to make Archaludon even stronger than it was in the previous game. Of course, that doesn't work as well if Incineroar does opt to fake out the Raichu. Yeah, that's just a mind game that both players have to deal with on this particular turn. Sean could also just raw tag Pelipper in as he did on the previous game.
Yeah, switch that in, then go for the Electro Shot. So Bezod might be thinking, okay, fine, I'll fake out the Archaludon this time, which is better, but like also doesn't feel great because
Stamina.
Because then you get a stamina boost, and then suddenly Archaludon is like trading with Garchomp a lot better. But we finally get to see Mega Raichu X. Its hands are bigger now, and it will be finally setting the electric terrain onto the field as Archaludon goes for the Protect. We'll see if Bezod stayed true with the play he went for in Game 1, or decides to switch it up. Does stay true, goes for the Fake Out into that Raichu slot. So Raichu did not go for its own Fake Out, and so that means Goldango gets to go for a free Nasty Plot on this turn. So Sean, player who won the interaction in Game 1, made a choice. Bezod said, nope, I like this play anyway. It didn't work out, but I'm going to do it anyway. Gets even more value than he did out of, or way more value than he did out of the first one. However, now Raichu is here, and the same kind of thing can happen. You can just have a Volt Switch, go into Pelipper, go and get some Electro Shots up. Now in Electric Terrain, those are going to be doing a lot of damage. However, Goldango can also do quite a lot of damage with that now light, Nasty Plot boosted Life Orb, Make It Rain, or Shadow Balls. Archaludon has to be a little bit worried about that one.
Yeah, Goldango at the end of turn 1 in Game 2, or Game 1, Goldango was at -2 special attack. It is now at +2 special attack.
That's different.
So that is markedly different. That is 2 times as different, 4 times as
Four
different.
times as different.
4 times as different.
Doing 4 times more
Goldango
damage.
was going to be much more threatening in this particular position, but
Ooh,
another
Venusaur.
adjustment, Venusaur actually coming in for the Incineroar here. Volt Tackle coming. I haven't seen this animation. That looks very cool.
that
Just
does a
darting
lot
around
of-
the screen. Remember, Raichu's at -1, still does over half to the Goldango on the other side. We have +2 Shadow Ball firing off into the Archaludon. Just gets a clean 1-hit KO. This game is remarkably,
This is way different.
markedly different from Game 1. Venusaur is here now.
Venusaur is here, and so we did say that the electric terrain will be stymieing the sleep powders from Venusaur. However, Venusaur also has Earth Power to hit this Raichu with super effective damage.
That's why it's on the team.
I don't know if it's gonna be enough to. I have no idea the Earth Power into Mega Raichu X calc. I've no idea. We'll find out together, I guess. But in the meantime, Pelipper is gonna be showing up on the field saying, "All right, well, you brought your Grass type. Hope you like getting hurricaned, buddy."
Yeah, if you want the sun, you need to switch in Charizard. And if you switch in Charizard, Mega Raichu X is here to click Volt Tackle. Or even Volt Switch in terrain will be doing a lot of damage. So yes, Archaludon has been dealt with. Now you need to deal with Pelipper and whatever else is in the back. I have to imagine maybe the Basculegion this time.
Maybe Basculegion. It could also, yeah, maybe not as convinced that Venusaur is necessary, especially given its lackluster Game 1 performance. I think that's fair to say. Archaludon, kind of the big raid boss, though, is down, and so that's a big, advantage for Bezod. Removed that massive thorn in his side from Game 1. Here's the Volt Tackle. Those are straight into the Venusaur. Intimidated. It still does solid 1/3 damage to that Venusaur. Decent damage here, as Venusaur will be firing out back with the Earth Power. But then after that Volt Tackle chip damage, looks like it is enough to pick up that Mega Raichu Y. And so every knockout is crucial in these Weather War matchups, where now Sean gets a trade, but he was already down 1 Pokemon, so now he's down to 2, cannot switch anymore, and Bezod still has Incineroar and most likely that Charizard in the back. So looks like Bezod this time will be the one with the last laugh, winning the Weather War.
However, Sean does now have the Basculegion in the back, so yes, Charizard can set up the sun, that's great. Basculegion has 2 fainted allies, and there's only one thing Basculegion likes more than friends that are alive.
Friends that aren't.
Friends that aren't, because it gains power from the fallen. Cough, King Gambit, cough. And so yes, Bezod can set the sun, but Basculegion is definitely going to be faster with that Choice Scarf and does threaten with massive last respects. However, Goldango is still at +2 special attack. It is still very threatening. You can't just leave that alone. And we know that Goldango is faster than the Pelipper on the other side.
I mean, Pelipper is kind of a non-factor as soon as you click.
Well, you do get Fire-type Weather Ball into Goldango, which would be enough to KO it, probably.
I mean, yeah, I think at this point. Oh,
It's leaving anyway.
Interesting. Okay, that was not how I was expecting Bezod to approach this.
If you want to weaken the last respects on the other side, switch an Incineroar.
Well, yeah, that does weaken the last respects. I like this better. Bezod's pretty good at this game, turns out. Yeah, like switching an Incineroar, getting that Intimidate to make sure Basculegion's last respects are not an existential threat to this Charizard. I would expect trained to survive and intimidated 2-stack last respect. Oh yeah, it
Very
does that
easily.
It didn't even need the intimidate, which gives Charizard all the room to go for a solar beam to potentially pick up the KO onto this Basculegion. We'll have to see how bulky it is. It is Focus Sash, so no real shock to see that KO'd here. As
Choice Scarf.
Sorry, yes, Choice Scarf. So no shock that there's not a lot of bulk here. Pelipper goes for what it can, the fire type Weather Ball, but yeah, Incineroar doesn't mind that one bit, and so I think Pelipper can do some nice things, but it's going to need a lot of Hurricanes and Confusions, and I don't know if it's going to have time for that.
No, I see a Game 3 on the horizon, and by on the horizon, I mean pretty much immediately.
Depending on when Sean decides to forfeit.
Depending on how much time Sean wants to take to think about a possible Game 3, because the earlier turns looked pretty good for Sean, right? Mega Raichu X got to do things. It got a big old Volt Tackle off.
Yeah,
But he lost Archelodon for it, so it was
like,
not exactly...
I think...
It was not amazing, but we got to see Mega Raichu X do things, and that makes me think, oh, it didn't go so badly.
Yeah, I don't know if it did go that well. Like yes,
It did more than it did in Game 1.
Raichu did more, but like that was at the expense of Archelodon getting to do anything at all, really. And that's pretty detrimental when it was kind of the thing that carried Sean to a pretty clean Game 1 win. So Bezod ties up the series. We're going into Game 3, which we all love to see. So I'm happy about that, because I don't think we've had a Game 3 quite yet. We've just had some 2-0s so far. But yeah, I think if I'm Sean, I don't love the lead matchup, right? It can go well. We saw it go well in Game 1, but it can also
A little volatile.
not go well, as we saw in Game 2, right? Where Incineroar decides to fake out is just so important, right? You just kind of have to call that, because it's really hard to pressure the Incineroar to stop the Goldengo from getting a free Nasty Plot. And then once it has, Shadow Ball, we saw existential threat to Archelodon. Gets that KO instantaneously. There's nothing you can really do about that. It's faster than Pelipper. It can do a lot of damage that way. And so there's no real need to click Make It Rain, other than Grimmsnarl.
Nothing's weak to screens. Sorry.
Steel.
Nothing's weak to steel. That is the word that I meant to say.
Grimmsnarl screens. That's
Grimmsnarl screen. Grimmsnarl click button. Screen go up. Speaking of Grimmsnarl, can we talk about the Grimmsnarl on Bezod's side
Sure,
real
we can
quick?
talk
Just
about
because
it.
I think
Not
this
that it's going to show up.
It's
maybe,
probably not
but-
going to show up given how Game 1 and 2 went, but it's such a cool moveset. The Grimmsnarl on Bezod's side is running Expert Belt with low kick, and you might think, wow, that's really weird. What on earth are you hitting with that? The answer is King Gambit.
I mean, I could have told you that. Yeah. As soon as you see a random fighting move on a Pokemon, you're like, ah, yes, they don't like King Gambit. That makes sense. But I think it makes a lot of sense with Grimmsnarl. It's naturally a little bit faster than King Gambit. Doesn't care at all about Sucker Punch thanks to its
Quad resistance
quad
to dark.
resistance to dark. And with the Expert Belt, that low kick's going to be putting in a pretty good amount of damage. So, and when you have Goldengo, King Gambit is a pretty big Pokemon you want to threaten in the team builder. However, not going to be relevant here. We have not seen a King Gambit on either. We haven't seen King Gambit at all today. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
I'm not mad. We've seen enough of that guy. But jumping into this decisive Game 3, and this is kind of what I was hoping to see from Sean. A different lead matchup, because yeah, the one that Bezod was going with was a little bit awkward, but maybe Bezod also thinking, the lead matchup could have gone badly. I want a better one. Here's Incineroar and Venusaur versus Pelipper and Archelodon.
Yeah, so the good news for Sean is that weather control is firmly in the weather's firmly in his control. There's nothing Bezod can do to take away the rain on this turn. However, Bezod has fake out control. Bezod has the ability to click Sleep Powder if he so wants, and because it's Focus Sash on that Venusaur, Venusaur will survive any one hit, which guarantees Sleep Powder coming out on this turn if Bezod wants to gamble on that.
Yeah. Sleep Powder is uncontested in this slot. There's Raichu can switch in, but of course does not have Electric Surge yet. He needs to Mega Evolve to accomplish that, and so this does sort of open Sean up to potentially getting slept on this turn. However, Sean pivoting back to potentially the Venusaur back from Game 1 as a Sleep Powder Absorber. It can potentially take that pretty well. Also can take this Earth Power reasonably comfortably.
Better than Archelodon, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
certainly better than Archelodon. So Bezod just goes for a pretty straightforward play. Just let me fake out the Pelipper, get some chip, and kind of just start chipping away at this Archelodon. Stamina boost will do nothing to mitigate the damage from the Earth Power. So I like that sort of approach. No real reason to gamble with Sleep Powder. You can get ahead with it, but you'd also just lose your turn entirely. So you'll definitely take a nice 26% off of this Venusaur. But this Venusaur does have Giga Drain and might most likely going to be the mega choice for Sean, though that could certainly be a wrong assessment depending on if he has the Raichu in the back. So you could Giga Drain, heal up that damage, and so maybe not the most consequential amount of chip, but I like Beza, just sort of pretty cautious play so far.
Yeah, Sean showing probably Raichu is not in the back, but could still very well be, does still provide utility with that fast fake out and that encore. Venusaur going to rip the Sleep Powder, is going to miss into the Pelipper on the other side. So Earth Power from Sean's Mega Venusaur going into Bezod's Venusaur, doing pretty solid damage. Parting shot from the Incineroar, which is actually faster than Pelipper. I don't know if we realized that, if we saw that before, we didn't point it out explicitly. Incineroar is faster than Pelipper, that's important to know. So Mega Venusaur down to -1. Goldango coming in here, reasonably safe spot. However, Pelipper, no Tailwind, just going for Weather Ball into that slot, doing exactly 50% to the Goldango on the other side.
Yeah, very nice. The Earth Power option into Earth Power from Venusaur into Bezod's Venusaur might seem a little awkward, but I think Sean was fishing for a Goldango switch, saying, all right, Sludge Bomb is so obvious into the slot. You're probably not just going to let me do it. If I Earth Power, that'll do decent damage as well, but also cover a potential Goldango switch a whole lot better. Doesn't quite get it. Venusaur instead goes for and misses that Sleep Powder, so Sean ends up looking like a little bit of a sillier play, but I really like the option there, saying, well, it's really bad if you do switch in Goldango in the slot. Let me cover for that just a little bit. Joke's on you, Bezod just parting shot it out to get Goldango in on the other slot, so Sean didn't really get to quell that too much, but the missed Sleep Powder plus the Weather Ball does mean Goldango doesn't come in for scot-free, and Pelipper now goes to sleep and gets immediately pelted with Shadow Ball.
Yeah, it does a whole lot of damage, bringing it down to 30%. I was kind of hoping to see Tailwind from the side of Sean on the previous turn. Now there's a chance that Sean won't get the opportunity to be able to click Tailwind, but Goldango barely surviving that -1 Earth Power from Mega Venusaur is a big deal. Means Goldango can get one more attack off if it wants to.
Yeah, I think if you're Sean, you're saying, all right, Sleep Powder to the Pelipper. I don't really care. Like, I don't think if I'm Sean, I'm not too worried about Pelipper falling asleep. I'm worried about getting KO'd, because if it gets KO'd, it can't set Rain anymore. If it gets fall asleep, Pelipper can just set the Rain, whether it's snoozing or whatever is going on.
You can wheel Pelipper around in a wheelbarrow as long as it's on your side on the
Rain
right,
is
at the right time. It'll be raining.
Rain is sure to follow.
Rain or shine, and by that I mean
Yeah,
rain.
that parting shot is really big, though. It keeps this Goldango around for at least one turn, which is impactful because this is Life Orb Goldango. It does do a sizable amount of damage, and if the sun is not firmly in Bezod's favor, it might be hard to break through this Venusaur. So a Shadow Ball is probably the best way to do it. Our Chaladon will be switching in this turn to keep that Pelipper safe, knowing, all right, well, probably not going to Sleep Powder that slot again, right? Might be more inclined to go for a Sludge Bomb, which is exactly what happens. Ooh, and a Make It Rain as well, saying, well, if I got one attack, I might as well click the really strong one, because what's the drawback of Make It Rain? You have lowered special attack, except no, you don't, you're KO'd.
You have lowered special attack and lowered HP. It also lowers Goldango's
Lowered to
HP
0.
in this instance, lowering it to 0, getting a KO. So that's a pretty good turn for Sean, I think. Our Chaladon switches in, gets a basically free stamina boost. Leftovers is going to heal up a decent amount of that damage. Is at +1 defense now, and you don't have to deal with Goldango anymore. However, Charizard gets to come in and set the sun.
Yes, but
Pelipper's still in the back.
Pelipper's in the back, so there's like kind of the perfect timing to switch out Pelipper, because now you have it in the back. So Charizard is maybe a little bit reticent to go for the Mega Evolution immediately, as the sun would get pretty promptly overridden. And Venusaur, we have to mention this, as Mega Venusaur, has thick fat. It is not actually weak to fire. The game will say super effective, but it will not actually do the 2 times the damage that you would expect, because thick fat will be having it. So Venusaur is not as immediately threatened from this Charizard. However,
Still doesn't want to
still
take
doesn't
Weather
want to
Balls in
take
the
those.
sun.
Still doesn't want to take those attacks. Also could be threatened by a potential follow-up Earth Power. So Bezod's Venusaur is still in a threatening enough position, and Sean also recognizing, well, our Chaladon pretty threatened here, needs to keep that around, but there's no Mega Evolution. Smartly from Bezod, he will be conserving this, so here's a Heat Wave in the rain. Yeah, Venusaur can take that one all day.
Yeah, that's not that meaningful damage at all. Just Earth Power going into the protecting our Chaladon. Here, Bezod saying, okay, either you switch in Pelipper and I get some decent damage on it with Heat Wave, Rain also expires on this turn, which is important. It does mean that Sean can't click Electro Shot for free, and also Heatwave is going to be doing a lot more damage, further pressuring Sean to switch Pelipper in, which he probably doesn't really want to do right now.
Yeah, and this is kind of the weird, the awkward part where, like, our Chaladon, it's like, I want to Electro Shot the Charizard. But doing that is kind of awkward to, like, getting that off is pretty hard, because otherwise, our Chaladon doesn't threaten Charizard that much, whereas in the right weather condition, Charizard is extremely threatening into our Chaladon. So this is kind of this awkward spot where, you know, Bezod realizing, I don't actually, as long as I, like, as long as, you know, as long as Sean did not click Electro Shot into Charizard on that turn where it could have Mega Evolved, which seems like a very risky play to go for, Bezod is pretty safe to just fire off some Heat Waves and sort of stall this last turn and sort of make things a little bit more awkward for Sean. However, this time he does have the Basculegion in the back as another things to switch in, so our Chaladon can be saved while Pelipper is also safe here from this now Mega Charizard Y. The Mega has finally been baited, Sun has been set up, and Pelipper's still waiting in the wings to rain on this parade. Earth Power into Basculegion, that's a pretty sizable chunk of damage thanks to a critical hit. Basculegion, yeah, also going to come and have to eat this Heat Wave. Venusaur does avoid the attack. So, yeah, Sean gets away with it pretty well here, but see if Venusaur can put in the work here with another Sludge Bomb. It is enough, actually, to pick up Bezod's Venusaur despite those parting shots. Still just doing enough to pick up that KO, and now 2 knockouts have been taken from Bezod, so the Sun is... This is potentially the last turn the Sun's going to be here, and so Bezod realizing...
It's the last turn the game's going to be here.
The game's gone. What happened? Yeah, these weather wars are so important with these Charizard teams, right? If you don't maintain the weather, you're just kind of in a bad spot, because Charizard in the rain, what is that guy doing? Not Solar Beam.
Being sad.
Being, like...
You can click Water-type Weather Ball, which is not nothing.
No, it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. Mega Charizard Y does still have a very high special attack stat. But it's not same type attack boosted.
It's not sun. It's not sun weather.
It's not fire weather ball. What you want to be clicking are fire moves in the sun, and you can't do that if it's raining.
This is true. This is true. They will not.
I'll be here all week.
This is we're very smart.
We're very smart.
Very, very smart.
We're good at watching people click buttons.
Yeah, they clicked some good buttons. No, that was
There were some really good buttons in that game.
I did like those button clicks. Those were some smart button presses. I really liked Sean's sort of insistence that, like, no, I think I can just chip things down with the Venusaur, just be a thorn in Bezod's side, be that grass type to potentially absorb those sleep powders. We said Sean has a lot of like sleep powder counterplay with the Raichu. Didn't even bring it in the game where sleep powder was most dominant, saying, well, Venusaur's immune to sleep powder, that's great. If I have Pelipper get put to sleep, that's a sleep powder immunity too. And I don't even need Pelipper to do anything, really. It just needs to show up. It just needs to exist. It can be snoozing, it can be poisoned, it can be whatever.
Morale support.
It's moral
rain support.
Moisture support.
Moisture support.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really intricate matchup. I really loved how both players approached it. We didn't get to see either Grimmsnarl, sadly enough, but we got to see pretty much everything. Yeah, we got to see everything else. So
yeah, every other part of the
Grimmsnarl
team
is
game.
in the format. We'll see it at some point, I'm sure.
It was there on Team Preview.
It was there on Team Preview, even the shiny one, because you can see shinies in this game.
Both colors of Grimmsnarl
Yeah,
were available to look at.
The less ugly and the other ugly one. They're both. Grimmsnarl's a gnarly looking guy.
Little gremlin of a thing.
That's kind of the point. That's kind of the point.
Part of its charm.
Yeah. All right. We've got. Are we gonna do an interview? I think we're gonna do an interview. Let's see. Let's find out
We
if
may or may not be doing an interview with Sean. One
see
moment.
if Sean wants to chat about this. Cool. This is Raichu X. This is a cool team.
This is a cool team. I have not gotten to see Raichu X at all. Really.
Yeah, we'll see if. I mean, I don't know if we need to hear about like Scarf Basculegion on Rain. I don't know if there's.
No, it's not
But
that interesting.
I think Raichu, like this set is, I think maybe a lot of. This was maybe my inclination was I saw Raichu and I'm like, oh, you can click Rising Voltage with this guy. Certainly, but Raichu, of course, Raichu X rather has a lot more physical attack in it, so it can do a lot more with Volt Tackle, which was doing quite a lot. Of course, the recoil cuts into that survivability a decent amount, but
even intimidated, it was doing
pretty
quite
nice,
a lot.
nice chip damage. Did a third to a Venusaur, like intimidated electric move. It's like that's like Tapu Koko numbers. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Electric Terrain still pretty strong.
Electric Terrain's still pretty good. Still pretty good. And you got those electric terrain boosted electro shots. That sounds pretty good. But we're going to be jumping into an interview with Sean in just a quick moment. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment with Fuji and Sean to chat about that game.
We can ask him not Raichu Y, but Raichu X.
All right, welcome back, everybody. For those of you who are just joining us, my name's Fuji. Today, I'm running some interviews as well as data analysis. And so this past round, we just saw Bezod versus Sean. And now that round was a little interesting because we've seen a lot of the different Charizard teams, which have been very popular. You see it with Floette, some of them with Venusaur. The one that Bezod was running was Venusaur with Charizard. And so the difference is that in Reg MB, they introduced Pokemon like Goldango. And Goldango was actually on Bezod's team, and so that's one difference, as well as Grimmsnarl, which is known to be like very good support Pokemon. It has a move called Parting Shot, where it lowers the special attack of the opposing Pokemon. And normally that you see that move on Pokemon like Incineroar, but even more interesting for Grimmsnarl is that Grimmsnarl has an ability called Prankster. Any status moves that don't do any damage get +1 priority, which means it goes faster than all the other moves that don't have any priority. And so you can actually drop your opponent's offenses before they do anything. And so Grimmsnarl just kind of sits there, Parting Shot out, and then you lower all the different offenses, and then Goldango being a really strong offensive Pokemon in general. You can definitely get some plays in there with these new Pokemon that were just added. Now, on the other hand, Sean was actually running a very interesting team as well. In the previous regulation, Charizard was probably one of the best teams around, no matter the variation. But now that we get Pokemon like Raichu, Mega Raichu X, as well as some of the other supports like Grimmsnarl, we get a lot more rain Pokemon. And so like stuff like Mega Swampert, as well as the Peli Arch stuff, becomes even more prominent, which means that there's what we literally call weather wars. And so you've got rain versus sun. Rain lowers fire damage, but sun lowers water damage, and then they also raise their respective damage as well. So water and rain goes up, fire and sun goes up. And so right here we had literally a rain versus sun, and Sean was running Raichu X with Pelipper Archaludon, which was a new Gen 9 Pokemon that has a move called Electroshot. It gets +1 special attack, and then it charges up during one turn. But if rain is up, you actually don't need the charge up phase, and it just automatically attacks in one turn. And so Sean, what he was doing was he would lead stuff like Raichu and Archaludon, allow him to evaluate what's on the board on that turn one, and then he can swap in the Pelipper in either slot depending on what he's thinking, as well as whatever his other back Pokemon is. And so out of those four Pokemon, he was able to reposition himself based off of what Bezod was running. Now, Bezod led Incineroar every single game. Sean also led Archaludon every single game, which kind of led to an interesting interaction there. You've got Incineroar supporting the Goldango that was on the lead, and then game one, game two was honestly very drastically different, even though they led the exact same things. And that turn one was the pivotal moment. In game one, Sean made the right calls during turn one. He was able to swap the Pelion, get the Electroshot damage onto the Goldango, bring it down. Pelipper also did a lot of damage with 50% on Garchomp. And then game two, there was exact opposite where Bezod made the right calls. He made all the same reads, but then acted differently. And so at that point, Sean was on the back pedal and he was in a very tricky situation. Now, once they went through game one and two, that was very similar, just different calls, different reads, and then a different back Pokemon. Game three was where it was very pivotal, and I don't know if you caught that. Game three, the lead, they were making really good calls on both sides. For instance, like you start to notice, oh, Venusaur is actually a lot faster, and then you've got the Incineroar, which is faster than Pelipper. And then you kept seeing the repositioning of all the Pokemon on both sides. That way they can try to control what weather is up, because that is very pivotal. At the very end, the very pivotal moment was that missed Heat Wave. So Heat Wave is not 100% accurate, which means that it can miss. And the Heat Wave was able to attack the Basculegion, but it actually missed on the Venusaur, which gave the opportunity for Sean to bring in the Pelipper after the Venusaur already knocked out the opposing Venusaur, which means that there's no way that Bezod can change the weather anymore. And finally, at the very end, you see that the rain comes onto the field and Charizard can't do anything. And so that was kind of a recap of this round. Honestly, both players did really well. Only problem being that when you run moves that aren't 100% accuracy, sometimes no matter what the position is, you may end up in a very tricky situation. And sadly, that's kind of what happened. Both players played well. And then at the very end, we end up seeing the gameplay itself. And so with that, we'll start to look at a double elimination phase. That's kind of what's going to be happening after this round. We're going to have a short break here, let the players rest a little bit, grab a snack. And after that, we'll go ahead and reseed everybody and figure out what's going to happen next. For those of you who are watching right now, hang in there. We'll be right back after a short break, and then we'll take a look at what the rest of this round is. And then we'll